When I was invited to give a presentation, I asked the question, what would I do if I were the finance minister? And we know our finance minister, Taman, has been in office for more than 5 years. So I'm going to give my views, and at the end I'm going to ask you whether we got a good finance minister or not. Now, what is the role of the budget? The government collects all types of taxes to run the country and to improve the welfare of the people. And then each year the finance minister presents the budget on how the money is to be used. And now our next budget is 21st February of 2014. So I asked what are the concerns of Singaporeans which the finance minister should look at. And I list here 7 of them. You must be familiar with them. Cost of living, jobs, transport, healthcare, cost of doing business, population, national service. So let's look at each of these items, what the issues are. Now, Singapore has a high per capita income, one of the highest in the world. And why are our people still so unhappy? Because the high income is just one part of the equation. Equally important is the cost of living. Now, I traveled to Indonesia. They have income maybe about 1/5 of Singapore or even less, Jakarta. But the cost of living there is also 1/5. And the people there are relatively happy they can get by. So therefore, we don't look at the level of income, but we also compare with the cost of living. And the most important factor is to look at the country's spread between the high and the low income earners. This is what is called the Gini coefficient. When you have a high spread between high and low income earners, the cost of living of a country is somewhere in between. It means people who are earning low income find it hard to survive. People earning high income, they are well off. So the country Gini coefficient, the spread between high and low income, is probably the best measure of how well is the people going to cope. And the country with the highest coefficient, the biggest spread among the developed countries, is a country we are familiar with. It's all in this red line, is called Singapore. We are worse than America. America is very bad, but we are worse. Then next is the UK. The countries with the best happiness index are the countries of Scandinavia, and they are all on this side. Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden. So therefore, if you want to understand why are Singaporeans so unhappy with the cost of living, your answer is here. Now, there is a website which I saw recently, where they invite people from around the world to submit data. How much does it cost to rent a house or to have a house? How much does it cost to have transport? How much does food cost, and so on? And these are contributed by individuals around the world. They say, where are you from? I'm from Sydney. How much does it cost? They submit. And then these are data collected from many people. And I key and says, how does Singapore stand? The answer is, the cost of living in Tokyo is 40% cheaper than Singapore. We all know Tokyo is expensive, but that's not true. Some things are expensive, but after you take car and houses into account, it could be quite different. Next is New York is about the same as Singapore in cost of living, but in terms of wages, New York are much higher. And then Kuala Lumpur is half of Singapore, we know. And then London is more expensive than Singapore, but Hong Kong and Sydney are cheaper than Singapore. So this is an indication of our cost of living. Next item is jobs. What's wrong with jobs in Singapore? Our biggest problem is competing with foreigners. And the foreigners, those on employment pass, these are the people from other countries. They come here and they get jobs at managerial, professional level. They pay no levy. The employer pay no levy. The number of people when Lee Hsien Loong become Prime Minister was 99,000. 5 years later, it doubled. Next category is the category below that. The number was 44,000. It went up 4 times. The total number here, 300,000. These are the people who are competing with our white-collar people, workers. I go to the airport every month to do some consulting in Indonesia. I asked the taxi driver, what were you doing before? They were not bankers, but they were in trading, manufacturing, construction, and now they are taxi drivers. All these thanks to these people who compete with them for jobs. We're not talking about work permit holders, domestic maids, or construction workers. We're talking about categories that compete with our own people. Then you have this word, which I will say is the dirty word. It's called outsourcing. And the government outsource cleaning jobs, guards, and other jobs. They outsource. What's the outcome of outsourcing? The contractor bid for the job, employ the workers that were retrenched at 30% lower. And the contractor keeps the margin. The cost to the country is still the same. The workers get 30% less. Outsourcing is a dirty word. It's a way of depressing wages. Okay, of course, it is okay in countries where there's a minimum wage, but not in Singapore. Okay, so you continue to have this pressure in so outsourcing is, and of course, what is very bad is the biggest, okay, not the biggest, the government is active in doing outsourcing. When they should be setting the alternative, employ people and say this is the benchmark for salaries in different jobs. They do outsourcing and allow salaries to be depressed. Well, public transport, you know, this is quite common. I do take a train and peak hours is like that. All right? And then after 2 years of no fare increase, the government now has the courage to approve through the PTC, which we all think is not that independent, a fare increase of 3-4%, and the amount of increase is $53 million a year. Of course, the ordinary people were very angry. With this kind of train breakdowns and congestion, you still want to increase, okay? Then I take a look, and what I saw, very few people did the research. I'm like Leong Si Hien. I also look at the internet for research, and the figure shocked me. How much does the government collect in COE? It's called Vehicle Quota Premium. In the year 2011, they collect $2 billion. 2,000 million. In the year 2012, they collect 2.5 billion. 2,500 million. Even if they say we need 2 million to survive, the increase is 500 million. That's 2012. You guess what's the amount in 2013? 3 billion, that's my guess. Just by looking at the COE price increase, it's 3 billion. So that's the amount. You mean after you collect 3 billion, you cannot take 2% and say we will fund the increase. so the citizens don't even have to pay higher fare until public transport become more comfortable. You mean you can't? Okay, so this is, you think we got a good finance minister? Is he using the money appropriately? All right, so healthcare, of course, citizens are worried, will MediShield Life be more costly? The answer is yes. Okay, so our Prime Minister says, we are going to give to the pioneer generation. And the pioneer generation is people who are 65 this year. I belong to the pioneer generation. But most of you missed. Bang, baby. Are you? But most of you are not. Now, when the government says pioneer generation, this is what the government does. They do cut off. You are okay, you get it. The rest don't get. You may live until 90 years old. According to the current one, you're not pioneer generation. I don't know whether you will get. But I don't like this kind of cutting according to when you were born. At least you can say, okay, we will give to people when they reach 65. It doesn't matter when you reach 65. You don't implement this thing called you cut one generation, and then after that, the other people don't get. Of course, they practice this earlier on with the baby bonus. If your baby was born last year, you get nothing. And this year, you get 20,000 tax rebate. I don't like this kind of policies. It's most unfair. Just because you're on the wrong side, you get nothing. And then the other side, they get a lot. But of course, Singaporeans they are also not very appropriate people. You get, you are happy. And you don't get, you complain. You don't know what is fair. If you get, other people in similar circumstances should also get. You only take care of yourself. So I think Singaporeans, we ourselves have to be blamed. Because we think if we get, we are happy, we thank the government, we forget that other people don't get. So I don't like this concept of pioneer generation. I said everybody wants to hit 65, give it to them. All right? Now, when you are going to give $300, for example, if I'm a finance minister, everyone above 65 gets $300 to pay for your higher health care cost. The cost is $100 million a year. We are spending $12.3 billion on defense. And if we take 100 million from here to pay for this, we still got 12.2. 12.3, 12.2. We also spend 11.6 billion on education. If we move from education to healthcare, 11.6 to 11.5 also no difference. Okay, so our finance minister is the one who is supposed to do all these sums, and I want to tell him, I want to tell you, get a new finance minister. Okay, I'm not going to talk about education, the 11.3, 11.6, but I feel strongly a large part of it is wasted. We send people 4 years university to be an engineer, they come out to sell property. It's like that. So many people are going to university at the state money or using their parents' money, and they come out and do something else. And this is all part of the 11.6 billion. Okay, but that's a separate issue for 2015 budget. Okay? All right, my numbers are all taken from last year's budget. This is how the money was spent. Cost of doing business. Small companies in Singapore says very hard to survive. I run a small company, I know how hard to earn money and all the costs, wages, rentals, and other costs very high. And therefore I asked, how many companies are profitable in Singapore? I was shocked. And the figures are here, and there are a lot of figures. I will point to you the key figures. Now, if the economy is doing properly, you expect 85% of companies to be profitable, 15% to be not profitable. That would be what my common sense said should be a proper economy. In Singapore, not profitable companies 106,000, profitable 57. 65% of companies are not profitable. 35% are profitable. You look at the numbers over the years, has been like that. For 10 years has been like that. Later on, you're going to ask me, if these companies are not profitable, how are they still surviving? We can discuss that. Sure, they are small. The total profit of profitable companies is 90 billion. The total losses of loss-making companies is 63 billion. The net profit is 26 billion. This is how lopsided our economy is. I call the IRAS. May I speak to an officer who can tell me how to interpret these figures? The answer I get is no. If you want our website, you can read the explanation there. Now, the average loss per loss-making company was 210,000. 8 years ago, the loss is now 600,000. Now, if our businesses are not profitable, of course, when the government says pay higher CPF, sure they complain. Already they can't survive. Something is wrong with our economy. The way cost and other things are happening. I asked Mr. Leong, can you take a look at my figures and help me see whether I make any mistake? And he says, he replied to me, I'm also shocked to see the figures. National service. For 25 years, even when I was in NTUC income, I write to the newspaper. National service has to be changed. It is very costly to the country. And of course, let me tell you what is the impact of national service. First, we all know that national defense is important for Singapore. But like moderator, chairman, chairwoman say, appropriate. Are we doing things appropriately? Are we overdoing things? All right. Now, Singapore has 71,000 active soldiers. Half are regulars, the other half are NS men, full-time NS men. This one, I got no complaint. If you look at the numbers in neighboring countries, we do need 70,000. But I think the reservists, 950,000, is too high. Appropriate number for reservists is 400,000. Now, I carry out a petition, 4,000 people signed, and I ask you all to get more people to sign. The biggest complaint of the people who provide the feedback is not the full-time. They say full-time 2 years is okay. But they say it's the reservists. For 13 years, I have to call up for reservists, and I have to keep fit. If I don't keep fit, I'm called up for remedial training. And this is disrupting my work. My employers don't like it. Okay? And I also have children to look after. My wife don't like it also. Because if the children are sick, and then she can't cope, So therefore, reservist training is excessive. We don't need 13 years, we only need 5 years. When you finish your ROD, 5 years you keep fit, and after that, you should be, no need to come back unless there's a war. When there's a war, you are called back. But other than that, you shouldn't be called back. So reservists, I think we should cut to 5 years. And then when you are ROD at 22, by 27 it's okay. For 5 years, you haven't got married yet. And when you are married at 30, you shouldn't be called up for reservists. So my petition says reduce full-time national service to 1 year. And the reason is, most of the NS men say the first year they spend time on military training. The second year, they spend time waiting to be ROD. Or cleaning the place. Cleaning the place, waiting to be ROD, or preparing for National Day Parade. We cannot waste our manpower like that. Our males come to work 3 years after the females. 2 years, but the waiting time to call it to come out. 3 years behind. And then they have to compete with foreigners. At one time they compete with girls, now they compete with foreigners. 3 years is very harmful. So I would say let's cut short. I was in KL, my friend told me something I know all along. He says, Kin Lian, the two countries with the lowest birth rate in the world are Singapore and Taiwan. And the reason is national service. I know that all along, but of course our Malaysians can see. Alright, so Taiwan, in spite of threat from China, decided they will scrap national service. When was Singapore reduced to 1 year? I'm not asking you to scrap. Overcrowding. So the 4 countries in the world with the highest rate of overcrowding, 2 of them are not countries. They are territories in China. The worst is Macau, followed by Monaco, followed by Singapore, followed by Hong Kong. We all know China and India are very big population, but they are not so overcrowded. All right, in terms of population per square kilometer. My wish here, if I were the finance minister, I will take 53 million from COE, give to the public transport company so that citizens don't have to pay higher fares. I will take $100 million from the defense budget so that everybody above 65 can get $300 a year to pay for the increase in MediShield Life. I will stop outsourcing of public sector jobs so that the public sector will employ people at various categories and set the benchmark for salaries for the private sector, so that becomes at least appropriate salary, appropriate for the cost of living. All right, and then reduce operating costs for business so that 65% don't have to be losing money. This one we'll have to have another forum to discuss how this is to be done. Stop overcrowding, so keep population at 5.3. Don't go to 6.9. And then reduce full-time national service to 1 year, shorten reservist training to 5 years after ROD, and stop remedial training. Okay, so those are my wishes. And now I ask you, did our finance minister do a good job the last 5 years? And did he recognize the problems of Singapore and all the problems that are shown here? Thank you.